Hey guys, it's Patch with Mobius Media Solutions, and I'm here today talking to baking steel. I will see you in just a second. Guys, welcome. I'm so glad to have you down here. It's been awesome chit-chatting with you before we kicked off the podcast. So
thanks, Pat.
Why don't you tell the audience who you are and a little bit about your company.
Great. Well, thank you for having us, too.
Absolutely.
Place here. Great setup. My name is Andris. I'm the founder of Baking Steel Company.
Yeah.
It's a product that we developed back in 2012.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little backstory on how I was in the food business, I'm going to date myself, which I don't like to do, but I was in the food business about 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
After college, and I studied restaurant management and culinary arts. And I got my last culinary adventure professionally was with Todd English.
Yeah.
Actually originally at Figs.
Yeah.
And then ultimately on his management team at Olives. I started out slinging pizzas with Todd, and it was an amazing adventure working with him. Creative genius.
Yeah.
But I was working a ton of hours and got a little burned out. The time my dad was looking for help. And so he had a small manufacturing plant in Hanover.
Yeah.
And so my brother was there. I thought that'd be a really cool opportunity, take a time out from the restaurants, kind of get back into the corporate world.
Yeah.
Right, the 9 to 5, even though it's not 9 to 5, but
yeah.
Get my point, right? So I was doing that for the last 15 years. And what we do is he developed this amazing product called a flip pad. Mm-hmm. You've never heard of this before, okay? But you do know what a backhoe is.
Yeah.
So the backhoes have these arms that come down to stabilize the machines.
Yeah.
And if you're on a golf course, right, you have a cleat.
Yep.
And then if you go onto the streets, like New York City or Boston, you have a rubber.
Yep.
So they had one or the other.
Right.
He came up with a 2-in-1 version of that. So it's called a flip pad.
Mm-hmm.
Rubber on one side and a cleat on the other.
Right.
Which is really cool. And so he developed that and patented it originally in 1974. Mm-hmm. And what he decided, and he kind of evolved into this manufacturing company.
Right.
In the mid 80s, Ford at the time was called Ford.
Right.
Came on board and bought a bunch of these from him, and he kind of turned himself into a manufacturer. I jumped in around the mid 90s with him, and he was kind of going on all cylinders. My brother was there, and he had just moved into a 20,000 square foot facility, which he thought was too big, but it wasn't, and he grew into it. And so our customer base are Caterpillar, John Deere, Volvo, etc. And and I've been doing this, trying to grow that business with him and my brother for the last 15 years.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's been a great experience.
Yeah. So then how did you get from making Caterpillar parts to,
something you're cooking with?
Yeah, something you're cooking with.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So I'm a foodie, so I love food.
Yeah.
Right? And so I was reading some food science back in, actually, tell you exactly the date, February 11th, 2011. As the Wall Street Journal, I'm reading about the launch of this new cookbook coming out.
Right.
Written by Nathan Myhrvold, who's a former Microsoft Chief Technology Officer.
Yeah.
And Nathan was retired from Microsoft for a few billion reasons, as you can imagine, right?
Just a few.
Just a few. So in any case, I think he was at the time was a classically trained French chef. He loved cooking. And he opened up these test kitchens, or a test kitchen out in Seattle. Mm-hmm. And he documented everything he did and wrote about the art and science of cooking. And he wrote this book called The Modernist Cuisine, which is a 5-volume series, $600, by the way.
Right.
No joke.
Yeah, no joke. And it's like a deep investigation into the food, like we've never seen before.
Right.
I never bought a copy, but I did go to my local library, and I asked them if they could get a copy of the book for me. And they're like, sure, Andris, come back next Saturday. We'll have it. So I go back the next Saturday. I'm licking my chops, fired up, and the librarian pulls me aside. She's like, Andris, that book was $600. No chance we're getting that. So in any case, the Wall Street Journal started peppering questions at Mr. Myhrvold, and the third question was how to create Neapolitan-style pizza at home.
Right.
My eyeballs lit up. I have all of Todd English's recipes from Figs, which is a Roman-style thin crust, which I loved, and my eyeballs lit up, and Nathan said to literally Google your local steel shop and cut out steel for your shelf. I was like, holy fuck. Literally, it totally made sense to me right away.
Yeah.
So I literally went out to my plant. I grabbed a piece of steel that we use for Caterpillar components. Mm-hmm. It was probably 3/8 thick, 20 inches wide by 10 inches wide, by 20 inches long. And so I brought it home, like it was literally rusted. Mm-hmm. My wife said, what are you doing with that steel?
I'm not eating no
She's not touching that thing. I used a little parchment paper,
Yeah.
made dough that weekend, and was literally, if anybody makes pizza at home, we all struggle, right? It's doughy in the middle, almost always, with those pizza stones. And I struggled with it. But for the first time in my life, the bottom crust was perfectly charred and crispy.
Right.
And so I was like, literally, holy fuck, like the baking steel was born that day.
Yeah.
The one problem I had was we're the small manufacturing company selling parts to Caterpillar. So how in the world was I going to get eyeballs on our website?
On it, yeah.
How? So I had disbelief in my dad and my brother that at the time kind of rolled their eyes.
Right.
We were super busy manufacturing our parts. So I shelved it.
Right.
For 6 months. And then I was doing a little bit of yoga in between. For some reason, I found yoga that summer and woke up one day in December and just with that idea again, like the baking steel.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to do something with this. It's been sitting there in the front of my brain, but I finally kind of got the balls and the courage to kind of really support what I was going to do and made it happen. So I spent the next, you can probably cue the Rocky music.
Yeah,
the
right.
next 6 to 8 months developing the product, going to Home Depot, measuring all the insides of home ovens to get the right proper dimensions. The good news is we had a manufacturing plant that had $1 million worth of equipment that could produce this steel,
Whatever you needed,
right?
Yeah.
And so I was confident. As I was gaining confidence, I was sending product out to some friends that were foodies. They loved it. My brother and my father started kind of buying into this more and more because I became so passionate about it. And so I kept hearing the term Kickstarter throughout this 6-month process. And I finally did some digging and found out that I wasn't really getting investors. I was getting these micro investors who essentially pre-order my product. So it made total sense.
Right.
I launched a campaign, did a video, not very confidently, but we did a video, and I had a goal of $3,000. Mm-hmm. I thought I could probably get my parents to buy one, maybe a friend or two, but I wasn't totally confident that I could hit the $3,000, but I thought it was attainable.
Right.
So we launched on a Thursday morning, and I literally, like around 11 o'clock, hit the go button on Kickstarter, which was awesome. But then I emailed literally everyone I knew. That was my marketing. I literally emailed like ex-girlfriends, old friends from high school, everyone anybody.
Select all, right?
Yeah, just nailed it, and just emailed everyone I knew. That was my marketing.
Right.
And then we hit our goal.
All right, so hold on before we go too far. So you started with $3,000 on Kickstarter as your goal.
Correct.
And then the only thing that you did to try to get that out was emailed everybody you knew.
That's it. That was my marketing. I didn't know anything
That was
else.
the whole thing. Okay.
I didn't know anything else.
All right, so how much did it actually bring in for you?
So we hit $3,000 in one day, which I was blown away.
Right.
At the end of 30 days, we pre-sold 500 units, which was kind of mind-blowing at the time, and we raised about $40,000. So what that told me is that the market was kind of ready for something.
Yeah, really
wants
it. Yeah,
really wanted something like this. It's a 15-pound, by the way, pizza stone.
Right.
It's by far the heaviest thing out there. People thought I was nuts.
Right.
Like, Andris, this is great, but you got no chance selling these stones.
Yeah.
Right.
It's too heavy.
Right.
But we went with our gut.
So then once you made $40,000, now you have to actually make the product.
Correct.
You didn't even have it.
No. Right.
Okay.
Totally.
So you just so that I'm clear, you sold something you didn't even have yet.
Correct.
All right. So tell me how you actually went about making.
Great question. So the good news is what I've been doing for the last 15 years is we're a manufacturing company. And so being a small manufacturer and having Caterpillar as your customer, well, it's like the school of hard knocks. You're going to learn how to manufacture very well by having that as a customer. And my brother at the time, still is, a great manufacturer, and we had, we were an ISO registered company, which means we get it.
Yeah.
We speak that international language
Right.
of manufacturers. So we kind of went in on a Saturday, the first Saturday. I said, let's start making these things, and we had made 5 or 6, or,
Right.
one at a time. In fact, I'd be making them, taking them off the line,
Mm-hmm.
and bringing them to my parents' house to season them. Because
Right.
if you're not familiar with the baking steel, we can talk about that too. It's very similar to cast iron, where it needs to be protected from oxidation.
Right,
So we
right.
seasoned it. So I would be taking them off the line at Stoughton Steel, bring them to my parents' house who lived close by.
Dude, how are you not like 300
I
pounds?
know. I know. I'm close, believe me. Too much pizza. So that's really...
So how many? The first time you made one, obviously, is not what you have for sale now.
No,
So
correct.
how did you get from that first one
Yeah, that's a great question.
through all the prototypes?
So there's a lot of, again, we had the equipment. So the easy parts, like, okay, getting the metal in, plasma cutting it, which
Right.
we got these machines that do this for us. And that's very precise.
Right.
We had one size at the time. It was a 14 by 16 quarter-inch steel, weighed 15 pounds. It was a cleaning process, literally the same steps we take with the Caterpillar components.
Right.
This baking steel went through the same steps, but where it changed is we're not powder coating
Right.
the steel, but we take it through cleaning processes, automated cleaning processes, and then we bake it in an oven,
Right.
but with an oil on it,
Right.
food oil,
Right.
to kind of coat it, and that's it. So it's all natural. My brother was great at the manufacturing end, and still is today. We were able to get those 500 units out before our deadline.
Which is a big deal on Kickstarter.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
I know there's some companies that
Have a really hard time with that.
Yeah.
totally
Still to this day.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So the good news, we were good manufacturers, and that was a real big feather in our cap.
So how many did you make prior to launching your Kickstarter campaign?
A few dozen.
Okay, so
few
you
dozen.
kind of knew that you
Yes.
could do
Oh, yeah.
some of it.
Yeah, and we don't forget, we're making thousands of our product for Caterpillar.
Right.
So we get the numbers thing.
Right.
And we get that. I knew what we were getting into.
Right.
500's manageable. If that was 5,000, would be
Couple Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah, that would be a different. And that's what happens on Kickstarter, by the way. It
Right.
can,
We always
right?
talk
All of
about
a sudden, you have your relationship with your manufacturer. Yeah, they can do 400 or 500, but when you get into the thousands, now it's a whole different game.
Right.
You might be, getting in back of the line. We were good because we controlled the manufacturing. And that's
Right.
really important.
So once you started getting out the 500, you then did something I think is fairly unique in that you actually started getting people to come in to have classes.
Yes.
So you almost shifted in order. So you have a product for sale, but then you shifted to education, then pushed to sale.
Yes.
So let's talk about how you got into these classes.
That's great. So, and I can even back up one step further. I read a few books on online marketing, and like Gary Vee, we talked about Gary
Right.
Vee a little bit, his book Crush It.
Yep.
I think it came out in 2009. I probably didn't read it until 2012. It gave me the confidence that, you could sell anything online, but it was about the education. So our Instagram, our Facebook, like all of these channels that we use, Twitter, another example, all we do is educate on how to do it. And how we do that? Well, you know what? We make a pizza. Right. We got pretty good at making pizzas, and we take a picture of it. And then we blast that out to our channel.
How are you not 300 pounds?
Lots of drugs. Lots of drugs.
It's well, there's a balance, right? And I totally struggle with my weight because I go from a corporate job. I'm going to the gym every day from 12 to 1.
Yeah.
Come back and have my salad, right? To
And then 12 pizzas.
we're doing a bacon and egg breakfast post today.
Right.
It's 3:00 in the afternoon, and I'm eating bacon, and I just downed 800 calories, and I'm not even hungry.
Right.
So we struggled. I struggled personally with that for sure, and Craig too. Yeah. So we had to dial that down. In fact, I'm a vegetarian now, which is crazy, just to help with that weight because that's important.
Yeah.
I don't want to be this really super heavy guy selling a product right?
Yeah.
It used to be never trust the
Yeah.
skinny
Yeah.
chef, but now it's like skinny chef's kind of the thing now.
Yeah, totally. So that's one of, and I think also if pizza done correctly, and that our product is awesome for more than just pizza, but kind of known for pizza,
Right.
if you will.
Right.
Pizza done properly is actually okay. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. So let's get back to the classes. So
Yes.
you said you were going to back up one step further.
Oh, yeah. So the classes. So what happened, I was blogging at the time. So I'm working at Stoughton Steel. I've got this side hustle, baking steel.
Yeah.
That I'm in the mornings doing my Stoughton Steel thing. And then in the afternoons, I go to Whole Foods and then go to a kitchen.
Right.
Whether it be my parents' house, my house. It was my car looked like a mini Whole Foods, right? With like mold growing on doughs that were sitting back there. Right? So what I did was I started looking for some commercial space.
Right.
It's like, this would be cool if I could have a little space, a little kitchen in it, maybe do something else in there. But my wife had this great idea. I have this home in Cohasset with a detached barn, really old barn. But she said, why don't we redo the barn? So another light bulb went off, and we did. That was a great idea. So as we designed the barn out, we built it with a home kitchen on steroids. We've got these beautiful ovens in there, and just a really nice space. And we said, why don't we develop the kitchen part of this with a big island, and let's take folks in there once a week and teach them what we've learned as pizza makers.
Right.
The good news is I learned from Todd a bit with his Roman style pizzas, but our product's been pretty well accepted into the marketplace. So I've met some amazing pizza makers.
Right.
And so we asked them, like, what does Christopher Bianco do out in Arizona? Why is his place on everyone's short list
Right.
of the best pizza in the country?
Right.
Or Tony Gemignani or Peter Reinhardt, all these amazing pizza makers. So we asked them. So we essentially take their technique, and we're your guides to making great pizza at home. And so we do a long fermentation. None of these things we invented, or Kenji from Serious Eats is another great technician. Wealth of knowledge, yeah.
Yeah.
So we make these pizzas, and we bring 8 people in a week, and we do hands-on classes. We take you through a timeline of how to make great pizza. And typically, if you don't own a steel, at the end of that class, you're going to buy one or gift one to somebody.
Yeah.
Because the pizza that we make is literally incredible.
That's awesome. So this is kind of cool too, because you're now using education of how to cook, and it's probably like date night, right? So,
Yes,
totally.
Yeah.
So people get to go on date night. They get to do something cool. They get to eat. You're shoving wine down their neck.
That's right. That's right.
And then
Fit wine, right?
and then you get to turn around and they're like, well, where do I get one of these?
Yeah, it's just shooting fish in the barrel, like we always say. It's fun.
So you just have, well, there's one in the corner.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
I mean,
right. That's basically what we do. And I think the product is so awesome. It's like a simple thing. And I can talk about that a little bit. Would that be interesting at all?
Well, so I got one question before you go into that.
Please,
so one of the guys online said, this is from Chris, says, what's one thing you would tell someone who's looking to launch a successful Kickstarter campaign? You guys are awesome, by the way.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you. That's a great question. So what I've learned, and I kind of probably doing what I did is not the right thing. I didn't know, right? So I probably don't want to be emailing people the day of your campaign as your marketing strategy. It's not the smartest thing. I didn't know any different.
It worked.
It worked.
Yeah.
It was honest. It was authentic. And we raised $40,000, which was awesome and life-changing in the fact that, but it wasn't the best strategy.
Yeah.
In hindsight, with it, what I'll do today, if we do another Kickstarter, what I would do is, 1, have my product ready, and then 2, I'm going to be shipping that product out to my influencers, list, a month before my campaign. Let them play around with it. So when I do launch, it's kind of already hot. People if it's a good product.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing, you got to make sure you have a great product, right? If I'm going to send you my product as a prototype, if you don't like it, well, I may not want to kickstart that either.
Right.
So I
Right.
got to be super confident in
And
what
you
I'm
guys
doing.
plan to do more Kickstarters.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
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 We're-
So
totally.
So what were some of the things that you? So you had a really great experience with Kickstarter, but
Yeah.
what are some of the things that you didn't see coming? Like a big one that I hear a lot is, Kickstarter took more than what we thought they were going to take.
Yeah, that's good. That's great. So, yeah, at the time, in fact, our first 100 units that we sold on Kickstarter were numbered, like
Right.
0 to 100 or
Right.
1 to 100, right? So I didn't know how I was going to label those.
Right.
But we figured that out. We also are selling this below market value, right?
Right.
So that's the benefit.
Were you actually taking a loss?
We didn't even know what our numbers were
Okay.
roughly. I mean, it's fuzzy math.
Yeah.
And I didn't even care. We probably broke even on our original Kickstarter.
Which is perfect. That's
Right?
It's
Totally.
actually
Yeah, it's a good point.
it's actually where you want to be. If you're launching Kickstarter, you don't want to be trying to make a ton of profit.
Right.
Even if you only make $1 or 50 cents,
Get as
Yes.
much out as you can. Yeah.
you just get so much more out of it.
Oh my gosh,
I mean,
it's
you get-
amazing. So fast forward 6 months after Kickstarter, we're in Food and Wine magazine,
Yeah.
Bon Appetit magazine,
Yeah.
the Wall Street Journal, like Cooking Light magazine, Boston Globe,
Yeah.
Yahoo.com. I mean, it's amazing.
And you guys have been on some TV shows too, right?
We were just on. Well, we were on Chronicle about a year ago.
Yeah.
We've been on our product's been on the Today Show.
Yeah.
Rachel Ray show.
Proudly and secretly, Jimmy Kimmel uses our product.
Yes.
He's
Yes.
I've talked to his handlers before. He has bought product from
Yeah.
us before. He just hasn't talked about it. I don't know
Right.
why. He must have better things to do. I don't know. Some great pizza makers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the coverage is awesome. Like we've had so much media coverage. Although fast forward 3 or 4 years, it's gone. Like you don't get that anymore. So it's up to you to kind of promote. And Craig and I are our own best weapon. I think our secret weapon is us working hard and hustling.
Yeah.
Using the tools that are available. Instagram's free.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Facebook technically is not free anymore, but it's
close to free.
It's close
Yeah.
to free.
Yeah.
And we just publish recipes on a weekly basis on what we can do with our product.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So in the industry, we say that, when you're, trying to market a product, just being consistent with constantly getting your product out there and in whatever way you really can, right? So if you're not great at video, just try to, struggle through it until you get there, right? Keep writing, keep, blogging about it, keep putting out, in your case, recipes or different pictures on Instagram of all the cool stuff that you can make, right?
And you got to have thick skin because there's some
Yeah.
lonely days for sure. Oh, you can imagine like you're watching, I call it like, I'm sure a few listeners have listened to or played fantasy sports before, where we've got your apps open. But I feel like owning an entrepreneur online store is like running a fantasy life.
Yeah.
Because you're always watching something. Your
Right.
analytics, your
Right.
your blogs, your Facebook likes. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm almost 50 years old now, and I'm concerned about how many likes I get on a picture.
Right.
It's like that dopamine surge you get. When
Right.
There's a lot of interesting things, but it's everything. Just got to keep pushing stuff out. And sometimes you get super excited about a recipe or something you want to share to educate, and it just falls flat on its face.
So I was listening to a podcast a couple weeks ago, and one of the people that I follow said that they got really hung up on how many likes and comments and whatever,
Right.
and they were getting, and it was almost discouraging sometimes to put out the next one. So what he did was he created his own little rule. This happened like a year ago. About a year ago, he created his own little rule that says every time I look at somebody's or look at a post when somebody likes it, I have to create another post, right? So he's like, oh, I really want to see what this person said. So he goes on, he reads it, and then he has to post again.
Oh, that's
But he's
awesome.
like, what happened was I just started having massive amounts of posts, and at the end of the day, his subscribers are going up, and it was all worth it. But
Yeah.
so whenever you get discouraged on a
That's good. That's good advice. Totally.
just post again.
Just post again.
Just
I think
post
it's cool,
again.
cool about our blog too is there's so many bloggers out there, and tons of food bloggers, like in our like little circle, and they're posting once a month, once every 2 weeks. You know, we're following pages, and you're like, oh, I have to go back to like last June, and that's their most recent post, and it's like we're posting 2, 3, 4 times a week sometimes. And
Right.
It's like you said, sometimes one might flop, but it's like the next day, it's like you have one that crushes it, and it's going crazy. And
Yeah, exactly.
the more content we keep going out there, it's like we're staying. If you look at our page, it's like it's refreshed every single week. We have more and more stuff out, and I think that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more you get that out there, the more you can see that the market truly does want your product.
Correct.
Which is more motivation to keep
Yes.
going after it.
Right.
Yeah,
And
totally. Good point.
The other thing is, of the people that you get to come into the classes on date night and you know, build their own pizza and sit down, have some wine, all that kind of stuff. Of those people, how do you get more referrals from those people? Is there
So we don't have we send them an email follow up like the next day,
Yeah.
or 2 days later, depending what night it's on, and we just ask them. We send all the sources, all the recipes, all
Right.
the education that we taught them in the class as a follow up.
Yeah.
We've had at the time, I haven't looked. We just switched. What do you call that? The ticket
Booking agency.
booking agency was
Yeah.
Peak Travel. Now we're
Yeah.
using Fair Harbor to help us book our classes. But we've had like 75 reviews, like all 5 stars.
Yeah.
Because our goal is to have, these are called micro marketing events, which is we have 8 to 9 paying customers come in, and how great is that, by the way? I get
Yeah.
to sit face to face
Yeah.
with a customer. Obviously it's hard to scale
Right.
that, right? However, we're learning how to market, and we're tightening up our story,
Right.
And I told the same story about the steel guy turns into the pizza guy,
Right.
and people are really gripped to that story. It's I think we all have these amazing ideas at times, and ideas are great, but execution is really difficult.
Yeah.
And that's super hard. I have ideas every day,
Yeah.
right? But executing on them is a whole different game.
And it just takes massive action. Like
Massive
you can't,
action,
You
yes.
can't tiptoe.
No.
Right? You have to say, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and then you just have to
Do it.
Yeah.
Steps.
And you have to go outside of your comfort zone. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
one of the things that kind
Great
of I didn't want to cut you off earlier, but you said, look, I was emailing ex-girlfriends from high school, right?
Right.
Because that's the massive action. You
Yes.
have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to do all the things you don't want to do are probably the best things you can be doing.
That's right. Yeah, and even like the fact that first year, I read this February 11, 2011. My Kickstarter was August of 2012.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's 15 months of me trying to find like the confidence because I really believed in this product.
Yeah.
It was, doing some reading. I didn't know.
Right.
I went on the Kickstarter campaign thinking I could get a 0.
Yeah.
And I'd have some egg on my face.
Yeah.
I'd be embarrassed, right?
Yeah.
So it took a little bit of courage, but really getting out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And saying, you know what, that's okay. I really believe in this thing. I'm going to go for it.
Yeah. So Warren Buffett says when he's talking about investing, that dude has made bajillions of dollars.
Sure, yeah.
But what he says about investing is you don't have to be right all the time. If you do Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, blogging, Pinterest, do everything. You only need one of them to kind of work.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Good point.
And you just keep building traffic. And if you're presenting the right product to the right people at the right time with the right message, you will sell products. That's all there is to
Yeah,
it.
that's right.
And you guys are basically slowly learning that the faster you put out stuff, the faster your company grows.
That's right. That's
So
right.
if you had skipped the first 15 months, if you had just said, you know what, today I'm going to do it. If you had done it then, do you think you would be farther than you are now?
No.
No?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
So if
Oh,
you
of
had to
course.
wait for
Oh,
15
yeah.
months?
Right. If I could just come out of the gates and start. Yeah, I personally wasn't ready.
Right.
Yeah, I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to go out and take that leap.
Yeah.
I wasn't personally ready to do that.
Yeah.
I needed to find some yoga and some confidence. Honestly, it sounds corny.
Some woosah.
And do a lot of reading. And like, you know what? It's okay. One, it's okay if I fail.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I had to live with that.
Yeah.
I was listening to Elvis Presley on my ride into work that morning before Kickstarter. because he was the triple threat, right?
Yeah.
Sing and dance, right?
Yeah.
But just to get myself jacked up, it was like an emotional day because I was, once you hit that switch,
You're
and I've
alive.
seen this, by the way, I've
More than one way.
seen Kickstarter, I've seen zeros on Kickstarter before, and I didn't want to be that guy, but I didn't know. I could be that guy.
There's like, do you know that there's like 40 or 50 different places that you can do stuff like that?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Right?
Like,
You can literally go to 15 different places, launch the same exact product with the same exact number, and it's all gravy, right?
right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all gravy. So you only got to get one of them to work.
That's it.
And even if you got 15 of them that kind of worked, right? As long as you hit your, what you set out for your goal,
That's amazing.
right?
Incredible.
So it's just massive action. The more
Massive
action you take,
the more action you take.
the better off you be every single time, even if you're wrong in some of those things.
Right.
It's like, I did a lot of time in the military, and they said that any decision is better than no decision.
Right.
Right. Any action is better than no action, but massive action is really what does it for you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I also, so you leave like the corporate world and you get into this online thing. Well, the internet's open 24/7, right? So
Right.
You're basically working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
However, I will say that I'm really living like this is like a passion project.
Right.
So I don't feel like I work ever anymore.
Right.
I get to do exactly what I do every day, and I love it.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
That's awesome.
Really? Yeah.
All right. Well, it's come to the time in the podcast where we're going to ask you a bunch of rapid fire questions.
Okay.
And you got to go pretty fast. So
Is true or false, or?
I don't want you to think about it. I just want you to answer whatever comes to the
Okay.
top of your head. All right. So describe yourself in 3 words.
Passionate, caring, and loyal.
Okay. What is the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
I got a couple of things. I have a morning mantra, so I'm either going to meditate or I'm going to do yoga.
What do you regret this far in life?
No regrets.
What is success to you?
Happiness.
What makes you smile?
Doing what I love, and my kids and my wife, of course.
If you lost everything tomorrow, who would you turn to first?
My family.
What would you do differently if you knew no one was judging you?
That's a great question. I'm going to stop on that one. This is rapid fire.
It is.
I would do more of what I'm doing now. I mean, I'm getting up there in ages now, almost 50, and just keep doing what you love and just trusting that heart, just going for it.
Yeah,
totally.
good. Who or what have you given up on?
Oh, another great one, huh? This is rapid fire again. I don't think I've given up on anybody.
Or anything?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, meat.
I can't stick with you on that.
Yeah, right.
I'm a carnivore. Okay, and lastly, how many monsters do you think it would take you in order to get the energy to make $1 million?
How many monsters would it take me to get the energy to make $1 million? 1.
Perfect. All right. So thank you so much, guys. It's been awesome hanging out with you, and I'm excited to get some pizza.
Awesome.
Dude,
Let's do it.
I'm excited to get some pizza.
go eat.
So we're gonna sign off and go upstairs and
Crank it up.
yeah.
You can find us on Instagram at bakingsteel.com. We'll put some of these on
Absolutely.
stories next, maybe.
Yeah, and
totally.
we're gonna actually tag it in the comments too
Oh,
on the
perfect.
podcast.
Great.
So
Awesome.
yeah. So thanks so much for hanging out with us, guys. My name is Patch with Mobius Media Solutions, and I'll see you on the next one.
Hey, thanks so much for checking out this episode of our podcast. If you guys like the content that you just saw, would you do us a favor and go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below? It really helps us know that we're making the right kind of content that you guys want to watch and listen to. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you check out the description box below, we have all of our social media links. Make sure to follow us on Facebook. We post a lot of our behind the scenes stuff and advertisements for podcasts that are coming up. So once again, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next one.